All right, today's topic, if you're just now joining, is reasons why you should not leave the United States. Of course, if you're already here. If you're in America right now, all right? If you're in America and living in America, you probably, for the most part, a majority of y'all have overstayed your visa if you enter with a visa, right? So even if you did not enter with a visa and you somehow were able to miraculously come through the border without a visa, so we call it entry without inspection, EWI, then you should not leave the United States. Of course, if you had a court case and you got an order removal, legally, I'm supposed to tell you you have to leave by such and such date, and failure to leave by such and such date, well, this will happen, right? XYZ. So especially if you have a voluntary departure. So, but anyways, the reason I'm saying this because some people know already about this, right? That if you have unlawful presence and you overstay your visa and it's been more than 180 days, but you just step your foot, like you just put one foot in Mexico or Canada and you come right back, customs, they're not supposed to let you in because you don't have legal entry. Or even if you did have a new visa available to you, you're already just triggered by the act of putting your foot outside the United States. You triggered the 3-year bar. Now, if you stayed in the United States without status for more than 1 year, more than 365 days, and you step your foot out of the United States, then it triggers a 10-year bar. Okay, so consider like a restriction, essentially. It's a very serious restriction. So unfortunately, some of y'all, or at least some of our past callers, have unfortunately already stepped out. And, I understand some people have had to leave because maybe a family member is unfortunately passing away in the process, on the deathbed, or had to attend the funeral. I know it's a tough decision, but, you can't come back in. So that's why you really have to know that. Some people think, oh, I'll just come back the way I came last time. Yeah, I'm sure things have changed back then, right? Or now. No, there's a border wall, I guess. Parts of it, there's a border wall. But I just want to do that and I hate that you would have to miss your family member's funeral or for whatever other reason, but legally, of course, on the forms and when you have the interview, if you do have an interview, we have to tell the truth. And the questions are related. Some questions are, when's the first time you came in the country? When's the next time? When did you leave? Did you ever leave? Did you come back in? Right? Things like that. And how did you come back in? Did you enter with a visa? So it's going to put you in a tough situation if you're going to lie. Because if you're lying, then that's going to definitely, absolutely require a waiver. So yeah, the topic of the day is reasons why you should not leave USA. So that's the main one right there, the unlawful presence bar. All right, because let's say you're already in the US, you entered illegally without papers, without a visa, sin papeles, and then you left, that triggers a bar, the normal bar, let's say a 10-year bar, and then you re-enter USA without papers again, without a visa, that triggers another bar. That's called the permanent bar. And the permanent bar is not actually permanent. It's kind of interesting how they do this. But basically, permanent bar meaning you literally have to wait 10 years. The other one, like the 10-year bar or the 3-year bar, you don't actually have to wait the full 10 or 3 years. You can file a waiver application. So a lot of people hear about the permanent bar and like, oh, shoot, I'm done. No, you just still have to wait the 10 years. There's other scenarios like trying to figure out, well, can I apply for the waiver in the United States or can I apply for it outside the United States? In some scenarios, you can actually file it in the United States. Now, there is one called a 601A application where if you did have to leave the United States eventually for the visa interview, then you need to apply for the 601A. And by the way, you can't file it whenever you want to. You have to wait until your petition, I-130 or I-140, has been approved. And then you can file for the waiver. There's a lot of different steps involved. It's not as simple as just file a waiver. There's a lot of nooks and crannies required that an attorney would know what to do. So if you're trying to do it on your own, more power to you. I get it. Other things like you might not even know you're eligible for waiver, but you receive, here's a cautionary thing, a red flag, okay, in a sense that you really, really need to know this. I remember sometimes people call in and say, oh, I got the interview date and we review the immigration history, the entry, exits, and we're like, oh, did you file a waiver? Did you do that? Because that's required for your situation, entry without inspection or something like that, And most people say, no, I didn't know. And this is typically before the pandemic, because before the pandemic, those interview dates were coming sooner than later. So there's less delay. But now that pandemic, and unfortunately the waiver case are taking a hell of a long time. Last week when I checked was 40 months on the processing time schedule. But again, it doesn't matter what it says on processing time. If you want to sue USCIS to get your decision sooner, you can. I know there's a class action lawsuit that there's literally a delay on that, but I think there's more delay on that because of class action. The government wants to delay that. Otherwise, if they're going to have 100 people as part something, I don't know the exact number of people part of that class action, but it's going to require USCIS to make a decision on all of them, right? So they don't want to do that. So that's why for waiver cases, if you consider file a lawsuit, for us, we recommend do that individually. Pros and cons, I guess, but they filed it in January, I believe. It's still now almost end of July. And as far as I know, there's no movement on that case.